Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, development of argument, development of points, attitude to opponent, and cohesion. There must be keen attention paid to subject and verb agreement. And finally, the judges' decisions are final. This competition is not without reward. With regard to prizes, I am pleased to inform you that 24 participants out of the total of 48 winners of the first round of this competition will advance to become members of Youth Parliament 2021. Every participant would receive a certificate of participation, a youth debater's pin, and special tokens. Prizes include trophies, plaques, cash, and electronics, and will be awarded to the best debater in each round, all semi-finalists and finalists. I have the confidence that we could look forward to very meaningful and robust debates over the next few weeks. Honorable Mansour Nadir, Speaker of the National Assembly and moderator, will now take us through the debate. Best of luck, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Charles. Good morning once again to everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this inaugural Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. Today, our esteemed judges are Ms. Nazima Raghubir, Chief Judge. Ms. Raghubir is a print and broadcast journalist in Guyana. In 2018, she became the first elected woman to head the 76-year-old Guyana Press Association. She serves on the boards of the Jamaica-headquartered Media Institute of the Caribbean and the University of Guyana Broadcasting Trust. For all of her working life, Ms. Raghubir has been in the media as a writer, reporter, managing editor, news presenter with stints at Prime News, as editor of Insight, and as a stringer correspondent for a number of regional and international news organizations. Ms. Raghubir has also authored and edited several print and multimedia productions, including a published guide to the Parliament of Guyana. This is not the first time she is involved in the National Assembly as part of our effort to bring the work of the National Assembly to every sector and segment of the population. Our next judge is Ms. Anisa Mohammed, and she is the head of the Learning Channel Ministry of Education. Ms. Mohammed has been head of the distance learning at the Ministry of Education, and she is a mother of two. She's been involved in the privatized communications sector for more than 10 years and held the most recent post as Chief Executive Officer before transitioning to the state institution. Ms. Mohammed is extremely passionate about career, technology, education, and women's rights. She's also a published author. Our final judge is Mr. Rion Miller. Rion is a former youth parliamentarian, and he was the best debater for the Youth Parliament 2018. He was also the senior counsel for the winning team at the CCJ International Law Mooting Competition 2019. Mr. Miller holds a Bachelor of Law degree and is a second-year law student at the Hugh Wooding Law School. He is a member of the Caribbean Airlines Parkside Steel Orchestra and founder, creator, director of Panjazz Concerts. Today, we have two very energetic teams. The proposing team is Young Professionals Youth Group. The Young Professionals Youth Group was formed in 2015 by Ms. Kishanti Ramdular. It started as a group aiming to coach young people about careers, career development, and for participation in the professional world. The three participating members are product of this professional world. The first speaker would be Randy Diochan, a 27-year-old from Strathspey. The second speaker for Young Professionals Youth Group is Ms. Saverna Outram, 24 years old from Enterprise Gardens. And the third is Ms. Vashti Rambaran, 19 years old from Numprel. The opposing team is the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. The Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization aims to make a difference in society while serving as a voice for every youth, regardless of affiliation. It seeks to inspire youth to live a positive lifestyle and rise above the ills of society. Golden Om Dharmic operates on three pillars: knowledge, discipline, and service. It has 5 broad areas of focus. These are youth empowerment, humanitarianism, education, culture, and sport. The group is led by Pandit Deodat Prasad, the president, Chandradat C. Prasad, vice president, Priya Ramlochan, secretary, Danwantri Prasad, organizing secretary, and Savitri Ramlochan, treasurer. It operates out of East Berbice. For this team, the first speaker would be Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad, 25 years old, from Reliance Settlement, East Kanji Berbice. The second speaker is Mr. Chandradat Jagdeo, 19 years old, from Adelphi, New Area. And their third speaker is Savitri Ramlochan, 18 years old, from New Area, Canefield Settlement. Today's moot is the age of consent in Guyana should be increased to 18 years of age. I now declare the debate open and call on the first speaker for the proposition, the Young Professionals Youth Group, to make their presentation. Young professionals, you're on the floor. Mr. Randy Diochan.
Good morning. Can audio test? Morning. Morning. Children should be allowed to enjoy childhood and go through the stages of human development, basic education and character building without the burden of sexual relationship for which they are neither physically nor emotionally prepared. Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, esteemed judges, learned colleagues, attentive members of the audience, my name is Randy Diochan, and I'm here to strongly propose the moot. The age of consent in Guyana should be increased to 18 years. As the first speaker, I will be speaking on the legal framework. Our second speaker will be elaborating on the medical and psychological aspect, while our third speaker will be delivering on the economical and sustainable system. Mr. Speaker, I would like to define some key terms of the moot. Section 2 of the Sexual Offense Act, Chapter 803 of the laws of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana defines consent as words or overt actions by a person who is competent to give informed consent, indicating a freely given agreement to have sexual intercourse or sexual contact. The Oxford Dictionary defines should as a verb used to indicate obligation, and the verb increase to make greater in size, amount, or degree. Also, the act mentioned above defines child as a person under 18 years of age. I repeat, Mr. Speaker, a person under 18 years of age. Mr. Speaker, our current legislation has the age of consent at 16 years. But how did we arrive at such an age? The Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801, was enacted in the year 1893. In that act, the age of consent was 13 years old. In 2005, President Jagdeo increased the age of consent to 16 years, where he assented the Criminal Law Offences Amendment Act number 16 of 2005. Mr. Speaker, it is puzzling that more than 15 plus years have passed to reach the age of consent. It is mind-boggling as to why parliamentarians never took a lead role since 2005. Don't you agree with me, Mr. Speaker? Furthermore, some of our laws and conventions are in contradiction. Among these is the 1998 Marriage Act. Section 32 of the Marriage Act, Chapter 4501 states that females below the age of 16 can be married if they become pregnant. It is quite worrying that there remains provision for those who commit statutory rape to marry the victims if they become pregnant. And this, Mr. Speaker, only creates a cycle of abuse, which sometimes leads to suicide. Section 2 of the Representation of the People Adaptation and Modification Law Act 109, age of majority 18. Section 27 of the Tobacco Control Act number 17 of 2007, age to use tobacco 18. Section 31 of the Marriage Act, Chapter 4501, age of matrimony 18. Section 55 of the Intoxicating Liquor License Act, Chapter 8221, age of consumption of alcohol 18 years. Section 10 of the Sexual Offences Act, Chapter 803, age of consent 16. Mr. Speaker, the message to young ones: can't buy alcohol, can't buy cigarette, can't vote, and recently you can't even apply for a house lot if you're not 21, but you can have sex and we don't mind. Are we agreeing that sex is less harmful than drinking alcohol or smoking a cigarette, Mr. Speaker? We are still paying for that part of wisdom in the number of teenage pregnancies and sexual exploitation that is happening every day here. In 2018, a UNICEF report done here shows that reveals that Guyana has the highest teenage pregnancy in the English-speaking Caribbean. A whopping 90 out of 1,000 females here, Mr. Speaker, in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, this report also reveals a repulsive finding. And I quote, "The culture of adolescent girls riding on minibuses and having sexual relationship with drivers and conductors." Mr. Speaker, many of these predators utilize the age of consent law in their favor, oftentimes grooming children until they reach the age of consent. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, arguments that raising the age of consent will take away freedom from young people is not only inaccurate, Mr. Speaker, it is woefully sinister. It seeks to divert the attention away from why so many want to keep the age of consent as it is. Quite simply, they want a law in place that allows them to have sex with children with impunity. Mr. Speaker, it is a famous saying that whatever will not change with change in time will ultimately result in failure. And so it stands for the law as well. Society is not static by nature, it is dynamic. It needs to change with time to survive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now introduce the first speaker for the opposition. Mr. Chandradat Sipasad. Mr. Sipasad.
Am I being heard? Can you hear me, sir? Am I being heard?
Yes, you're being heard. Go ahead, Chandradat. I'll start your clock from now. 10, 20, 40.
Honorable Speaker, esteemed judges, members of the parliamentary staff, learned members of the proposition, colleagues of the opposition, good morning. I, Chandradat Sipasad, first Speaker of the opposition, firmly rise to challenge the moot. The age of consent in Guyana should be increased to 18 years. Permit me to define the key terms of the moot before proceeding further. The operative words identified as consent and the age of 18. The Cambridge Dictionary defines consent as permission or agreement. The Law Insiders Dictionary refers to the age of 18 consent, but it is silent on the type of activities consent should be given to. Is it to consume alcohol or is it to gamble? For the purpose of this debate, we shall interpret the moot from the perspective of the Sexual Offense Act number 7 of 2010 to read that the age of consent in Guyana should remain at the age of 16. The interpretation of the word consent is in pursuant to what is enshrined in the said act. As first speaker, I will to substantiate our argument.
We seem to have some connectivity issues. This is one of the challenges we have with respect to the virtual holding of some of the presentations. Let us bear with Chandradat. Our operator will signal us as soon as he's reconnected. In the meanwhile, not to take...
Guyana is not isolated from the rest of the world, members of the proposition. Let me enlighten you on how lawmakers have arrived at the age of consent in Guyana. It is not one that was arrived at haphazardly. Extensive consultations were done. On the 29th of November 2004, the age of amendment bill, and then it was sent to the special committee, select committee, to further canvass the views of the wider public. This bill had quite an extensive incubation period, allowing for consultations and input from a plethora of organizations and individuals, including legal expert advices from the United Kingdom, Canada, and Trinidad. Do you know what is the common...
Let us stop you there, Chandradat. The judges would like you to restart.
To bodies, a whopping majority of 30.
Chandradat, our apologies. The transmission got broken about 2 minutes into the presentation. We lost you. The judges would like for you to restart. I trust that the audio will be better and continuous. We will restart you. Let me just get a cue from the operator. And we will restart you at 10:24.24. Go ahead, Chandradat. Chandradat, Mr. C. Prasad, he's off again. We do have a connectivity issue. As soon as we get the group from East Babis, from the country area, we will bring him back. In the meanwhile, let us just repeat. This is the first round of the inaugural Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. Today's debate is the third in the series. We have 16 teams that are going head-on against each other. Round one, we'll see 8 debates happening. They happen on Tuesdays and Fridays, 2 debates every day. And the finals will be held on July the 9th, right here in the National Assembly. We're now about to reconnect with Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad, who is from the Golden Home Youth Organization out of East Berbice. Chandradat, you can start now. Chandradat,
Yes, you can start again.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, esteemed judges, members of the parliamentary staff, learned members of the proposition, colleagues of the opposition, good morning. I, Chandradat Supasad, first Speaker of the opposition, formally rise to challenge the mood. The age of consent in Guyana should increase to 18 years. Permit me to define the key terms of the moot before proceeding further. The operative words identified as consent and the age of 18. The Cambridge Dictionary defines consent as permission or agreement. The Law Insiders Dictionary refers to the age of 18 as the age of majority and the age of adulthood. Honorable judges, the moot speaks to increasing the age of consent, but it is silent on the type of activities consent should be given to. Is it to consume alcohol or is it to gamble? For the purpose of this debate, we shall interpret the moot from the perspective of the Sexual Offense Act, number 7 of 2010, to read that the age of consent to sexual activities in Guyana should remain at the age of 16. The interpretation of the word consent is in pursuant to what is enshrined in the said act. As the first speaker, I will be laying the foundation to substantiate our argument. My second speaker will tackle this issue from a medical perspective and a statistical one. And finally, my third speaker will elucidate from an educational and socio-cultural perspective. In the Commonwealth nations, Latin America, and the Caribbean, the age of consent is between 12 to 18 years, with the age 16 in the median, according to the early sexual initiation article from UNICEF. Guyana is not isolated from the rest of the world, members of the proposition. Let me enlighten you on how lawmakers have arrived at the age of consent in Guyana. It was not arrived at haphazardly. Extensive consultations were done. In fact, on the 29th of November 2004, the Age of Consent Amendment Bill was introduced to Parliament for its first reading, then a second reading, and then it was sent to the Special Select Committee to further canvass the views of the wider public. The bill had quite an extensive incubation period, allowing for consultations and input from a plethora of organizations and individuals, including legal expert advisors from the United Kingdom, Canada, and Trinidad. Do you know what is the common consensus of persons consulted? Allow me. Of 48 persons and organizations ranging from religious, educational, to youth bodies, a whopping majority of 34 agree to the current age of consent. Distinguished judges, do not yield to any attempt of irrational reasoning by my opponents to equate the legal age of voting to the legal age of consent. Any such suggestions must be rejected because they're two fundamentally distinct decisions. One is the autonomy of one's body and the other is a choice of government. We cannot and we must not be oblivious to the fact that persons at the age of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are engaging in sexual intercourse. In fact, the Marriage Act, even in Guyana, acknowledges sexual intercourse will occur at 16 and made provisions. As a consequence, this compelled our lawmakers to be practical in their deliberation in amending the Sexual Offense Act, addressing the many issues of sexual abuse and harassment, while seeking to protect teenagers from becoming victims of sexual crimes, forms the gravamen of the said act. As such, our legislators wisely agreed for the age of 16. In the famous rape case of Waru out of Kenya, 3 judges, having examined the challenges of having the age of consent at 18, made an emphatic appeal for it to be lowered to 16. This further reemphasizes and support my team's position. Further, I say not. Thank you.
thank you very much, Chandradat. Let me just remind the presenters that there are going to be 2 chimes, 2 bells. The first one gives you the 1-minute warning. I don't know if you heard it, but I'll ask the operator to up the volume when we have the chime for the 1-minute warning. And the second chime says you must stop. And if you don't stop, the judges will mark you down, no matter how good your presentation is. The next speaker for the proposition is Ms. Saverna Outram. Ms. Outram, you now have the floor. Ms. Saverna Outram for the Young Achievers Youth Group. Ms. Outram,
Ms. Outram, you're now starting at 10:31.45.
Can you hear me, sir?
yes, we can.
Honorable judges, learned colleagues, good morning. I, Ms. Outram, would be the second speaker supporting my colleague, Mr. Randy Decha. I will be outlining some medical and psychological reasons why we believe that the age of consent should be lower, should be above 16. Mr. Speaker, according to John Piaget's theory of cognitive development, we believe that a person finishes the formal operational stage of development at 18, making an individual wiser and more mentally prepared to scrutinize ideas and make wise choices. Hence, Mr. Speaker, I support the notion that the age of consent should be increased to 18, as there are medical and scientific reasons why persons make wiser and informed decisions at 18. Similarly, more sexually responsive and responsible because childhood development stops at puberty and puberty stops at 18. Biologically, it is proven that the reproductive organs respond best to sexual activities due to the fact that the body's endocrine system produces sexual hormones in its correct proportion at 18 as compared to at 16. Mr. Speaker, we also believe that Guyana has been ranked 16 highest in the world of cervical cancer death, and that is in accordance to the PAHO's report in 2016. This is mainly because girls in Guyana at the age of 16 are being exposed to sexual activities before the age of 18. Mr. Speaker, as a young woman, this right there makes me heartbroken. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I stand in affirmation with my team to ask that the age of consent be raised to 18. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Outram. And we now take the second speaker for the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. And he is also a Chandradat Jagdeo. Chandradat, the floor is now yours at 10:34:30.
All protocol observed. I, Chandra Jagdeo, stand before you as the second speaker in solidarity with my colleagues to reiterate the age of consent should not be increased to 18. To further substantiate from the first speaker, through a medical perspective, increasing the age of consent to 18 would not prevent teenagers from having sex, as it is a natural behavior influenced by hormones, nor would it be highly effective in preventing teenage pregnancy. According to a study from the Irish Examiner, and I quote, majority of teens are sexually active at 16, end quote. However, there is a reason for such a finding. According to an article published by the Newport Academy, and I quote, teenage sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone in girls and testosterone in boys affect the way they think about dating and sex. Teens become much more interested in sex, sometimes to the point of obsession, as these hormones kick into high gear, end quote. My fellow colleagues of the proposition, do you still think raising the age of consent to 18 would deter teenagers from having sex that their body is biologically engineered for? Why should we infringe upon their rights by increasing the age of consent to 18? Oftentimes in this discussion, many arguments may propagate that raising the age of consent to 18 will be highly effective in curbing teenage pregnancy. Learned members of the proposition, let me enlighten you as to why that is false. According to an article published on the World Population Review website, it established that the average age of consent is 15.6 globally, which is essentially 16 years. However, according to a study from the United Nations Children Fund conducted in Guyana, Nicaragua, the Dominican Republic, and Suriname from 2010 to 2015, of girls 15 to 19 years old, the teenage pregnancy rates were as follows. In Guyana, where the age of consent is 16, 90 out of every 1,000 girls have given birth. However, the Dominican Republic of our Caribbean community, whose age of consent is 18, 101 of every 1,000 girls have given birth. In Nicaragua of Central America, where the age of consent is also 18, 93 out of every 1,000 girls have given birth. You can therefore distinguish that the rate of teenage pregnancy for countries where the age of consent is 18 is higher compared to the countries where the age of consent is 16. What is even more intriguing is that neighboring Suriname, where the population is almost the same as ours, the age of consent is 16 years, which has resulted in a lower teenage pregnancy rate of 59 per 1,000 births. One can therefore see the correlation that the higher the age of consent is at 18, the higher the rate of teenage pregnancy is likely to occur. Considering the foregoing discussion, how could one in the age of 2021 possibly fathom that the age of consent should be raised to 18? I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Chandradat. And we now turn to the final speaker for the young
National Youth Group, Ms. Vashti Rambaran. Vashti, it is your turn to take the floor at 10:38. You're on, Vashti. You're on,
Vashti.
No.
Yes, Vashti, you can proceed. Please unmute the mic. Unmute your mic.
Your mic is muted. Unmute the microphone.
Thank you. Okay, Vashti, yes, you're ready. You can start. We're starting your clock at 10:38.
Members of the opposition, my most learned colleagues of the proposition, attentive audience, good morning. I, Vashti Ramaran, the third speaker of my opposing team, now rise to further concretize my team's argument, which states, and I quote, the age of consent in Guyana should be increased to 18 years old, end of quote. I will elaborate on the measures to be taken, creating awareness on the necessity for the age of consent to be increased to 18 years in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, it has been a matter of continuous dialogue among several wings across Guyana, even though some feel that the age of consent should remain at 16 years. We, after much consultation, speak for the majority. So, on behalf of that large populace, we will aggressively develop a plan to create awareness among the section of our population that are presently adamant about increasing the age of consent to 18 years. Sir, to achieve this goal, we will do the following. Firstly, stakeholders forums will be organized with specialized personnel. This program will aid in comprehensive, generate a report with community leaders, religious leaders, youth groups, and policymakers, which will stimulate public discussions and support. Secondly, honorable judges, promoting the increase in the age of consent to 18 years will require both electronic and written media. Through these mediums, parents and guardians and supporters, even the non-supporters, will be edified on the psychological, physiological, and economical benefits of an increased age of consent in Guyana. Thirdly, the education is the most important of mediums to create awareness and encouragement through schools. Esteemed judges, this issue is of greatest concern among this age group persons. At this time, there seems to be consent, but with much education and awareness, they can become the beneficiaries of post-age of consent. Fourthly, distinguished judges, through government interventions, our young adolescents, teenagers will become empowered with the creation of an inter-ministry agency that is made up of education, health,
contribute to sports, even the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. This body will contribute and strengthen the findings of skills in sports. Esteemed judges, we cannot continue to condone a society when older men prey on young girls. We cannot be victims because of poverty. We cannot condone a society where mothers sell their young daughters to men just to get out of poverty. Esteemed judges, I would like to encourage members of the opposition to do not stick your heads in the sun like ostriches. We all need to face the facts, the bitter truth. As a young woman, I want to be able to stand tall, be educated, participate in important positions. Thank you. I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Vashti. The final speaker for today is Ms. Savitri Ramlochan from the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. And we are now queuing up to get Savitri to take the floor. Savitri? You're on, Savitri. 10:42:20.
Yes, sir. All close observed, a pleasant morning to all. I rise before you as the final speaker to bring finality to our arguments. Thus far, my colleagues have argued why the age of consent should not be increased to 18. I will explain why it should remain at 16. An increase to 18 years will not prevent those below this age from engaging in sexual activities. Let's be frank about this reality. It will unfortunately be placing unnecessarily so our teenagers in conflict with the law. For what? For giving consent to an activity which has been around since the ages of Adam and Eve? In fact, many of those did not wait until 18. Guyana's prison system is already overcrowded by 29.7%, according to former director Mr. Samuels. In fact, UNICEF warns against such move, since criminalizing such acts could have devastating impacts on adolescents' behavior in the long term and deny them of precious freedom and the potential to contribute towards society's growth. As we all know, the right of education for children is sacrosanct. In Guyana, as early as grade 6, concepts of sexual intercourse, reproduction, and anatomy are introduced. This continues into secondary school. According to BAR, an online safety solution that empowers families to monitor content, it notes that it is normal for adolescents to be curious about sex, and by 16 years, 1/3 of teenagers globally have their first sexual intercourse. This is normal, nothing new. Instead of focusing on raising the age of consent, let us strengthen our institutions to provide the necessary knowledge on safe sex to navigate through this phase in life. Dear proposition members, policy decisions are not clear-cut. Look at the decision for eradication of HIV. Loud noises were made when condoms were distributed in schools. At that time, the policymakers realized that they could not stop sex among adolescents. Instead, the focus was shifted to safe sex. This is the big picture which must be viewed in this case. Lawmakers know that, and as a result, recognizing that there will be teenage pregnancies, vulnerables who need to be protected, sexual predators, and sexual diseases lurking, as a consequence, a practical approach had to be adopted, which addressed these challenges from structured institutional framework, hence the age of 16. Given the different belief systems, the age of 16 is striking a balance considering the different perspective. This, we believe, is adequate, reasonable, and practical. As such, I, Savitri Ramlochan, reaffirms our position, stating that the age of consent in Guyana should not be increased to 18. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Savitri. Thank you to all the presenters. We will take a short break at this time for about 7 to 8 minutes to give the teams an opportunity to get their rebuttals together and the judges to do some summarizing. When we return, it will be the opposition that will take the floor for the rebuttal and the proposition will close. Thank you very much. See you in 7 minutes.
Welcome to the inaugural
Leading off the rebuttal is going to be Mr. Chandradat Sipasad from the opposition. The opposition team today is the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization from East Babis. Mr. Sipasad, you can go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, impartial judges, learned members of the proposition, colleagues of the opposition, on this occasion, I rise to highlight the inaccuracies, the misrepresentation, and to debunk the baseless argument provided by members of the proposition in an attempt to defend what I consider to be a defenseless moot. And it is lucidly clear from our side that the age of consent should remain at 16. The first speaker of the proposition acknowledges that a process of consultation was done. Mr. Speaker and honorable judges, in my presentation, I would have alluded to that. Yes, we did have a consultation process where it was 4 years. The act was introduced and sent to the special committee since 2004, and it was actually passed as a law in 2010. Yes, there was consultation. The honorable speaker spoke on the Marriage Act. He spoke on the Marriage Act to say that it is in contradiction to the age of consent, but this is not so, honorable judges. This has never been the case. The Marriage Act recognizes that at the age of 16, sex will occur, and they did make provision for such. The false equivalency that he mentioned, that suicide and abuse, where is the evidence to support such a baseless place? Of course, they're fundamentally different. You cannot compare and contrast the two. They're fundamentally different decisions and points. He further mentioned about teenage pregnancy. Again, if you were to listen to my presentation if you were to listen to the presentation of my second speaker, he said the higher the age of consent, the higher the rate of teenage pregnancy likely to occur. So where are you getting your statistics from? You mentioned that it is a sinister to consent. How is it sinister to consent at the age of 16? The second speaker of the proposition would have presented on the medical aspect of consent at the age of 16. Allow me to go back to my speaker who said that hormones at the age of 16 are acting up. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell them no, that despite your body has been prepared for sex at 16, wait until 18? How are you going to stop them? What are you going to do? Finally, the third speaker, and I'm very happy with the third speaker of the proposition argument. It kind of coincide with what my third speaker of the opposition was saying all along. And allow me to laugh at this one, judges. The third speaker said that she is representing the majority. They consulted the entire world, they consulted Guyana, but never were we consulted, never. Who had they consulted? When was the consultation done? What numbers are you presenting? And again, I like the fact that she liked what my honorable member of the opposition said, that the issue of education, I'm happy that the third speaker of the proposition made mention of the school system, while agreeing that the third speaker is correct, that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandradat Sipasad.
And now for the rebuttal from the proposition. The rebuttal would be done by Mr. Randy Diochan and That proposition, the group is the Young Professionals Youth Group from the East Coast of Demerara. Randy, it is your turn. Yes, Randy, you can start.
All protocols observed. Mr. Speaker, I guess it is true. Light do travel faster than sound. That's why some people appear bright until you hear them speak. Mr. Speaker, what an astonishing presentation by the opposition. A set of cherry-picked facts and quotes, a farrago of misrepresentation, misinterpretation. Let me address the four speakers. First of all, you did a broad survey of the whole Commonwealth and give an average. Let me tell you this, the age of consent differs in every country. And our circumstances differ remarkably from those, and as such, their rationale cannot be applied to justify to lowering our age of consent. Now, Mr. Speaker, let me address another issue. He spoke about the 2005 National Assembly adopting the report of a special selected committee. Mr. Speaker, that consent bill is number 22 of 2004. A report which revealed weaknesses emanating from the discussion and considerations of the Special Select Committee. The first weakness, which was also highlighted by Mr. Rockcliffe Patrick Pitt, in the report states that the committee should solicit the advice and recommendation of gynecologists, obstetrician, and other medical practitioners on this matter, as it is neither a moral or religious issue, but a medical one. Yet he went on to say they had some legal experts. Have you no morality? Another weakness is that the committee rejected a proposal of 18 years just because the age of majority is 18 in Guyana. And I heard the second speaker, yes, the second speaker made reference to the age of majority. Now, there are so many countries in the world, Argentina, Chile, Haiti, Kenya, and I could go on, India, that has the age of consent at 18 and the age of majority at 18. An expert from a Starbrook News article on the 18th of 2005, October 18, 2005, states the Guyana Human Rights Association and roughly over 100 pro-18 organizations have been the biggest critics of this reasoning and have called it merely a shallow excuse for the rejection of their proposal, given that the age of majority is prescribed to other activities like buying properties. These groups have consistently asked for an explanation beyond the obvious disparity between the age of consent and the age of majority, but none has yet to come. 16 years later, Mr. Speaker, and we're still looking for answer. How ironic. Also, he spoke at the age of 11, comparing us to Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, there are certain countries where it's hard to separate the state from the church. And I know I'm standing amongst my two colleagues, which is two females. But in certain countries, a female, and it breaks my heart to say this, a female is seen as a burden. So that's why you would find that, it really breaks my heart, that's why you would find at the age of 11, they're pushed out because you see a male and you said, okay, he's gonna work, he's an asset, but a female, she's a liability. What can she do for us? You know, and the thing is too, there are certain cultures that you have to provide something called a dowry, and which is seen as a burden. Mr. Speaker, let me go on to speaker number 2. And you were quoting the Irish law. Do you know the age of consent in Ireland? It's 17. Now, again, as I said, cherry-pick quotes and facts. One of them, the second speaker mentioned Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and the age of consent being 18. Mr. Speaker, do I need to define, or do I need to say that 18 and 19 years are teenager? Obviously, if the age of consent, if you're telling them, okay, you can have sex at 18, people are going to have sex at 18 and you're going to have child. So I don't understand what logic he's trying to bring about there, saying teenage pregnancy, 18 and 19 are teenagers. That doesn't make any sense what you're trying to say. And for the final speaker, who's saying teenagers being promiscuous. Now, in our laws, we have the Romeo and Juliet clause to deal with those behavior. She's also saying the rights of education. Mr. Speaker, most of us at 16, we are worried about CX results, we're not worried about a pregnancy test. So you're saying, the right to education at 16, we're still in school. Finally, Mrs. Speaker, and one of my Lord colleagues was saying, infringing on rights. I would like to share a little analogy on it. A rattlesnake is dangerous. I would say it's venomous. And to restrict the freedom of a rattlesnake, yes, it's undemocratic in theory, but it is also wise to restrict its freedom. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Randy. There you had it, the third debate in this Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. The two teams today, this morning, were the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization, that was the opposing group, and the proposition was Young Professionals Youth Group. Golden Ohm coming out of East Mavis, Kanji, and the Young Professionals Youth Group out of East Coast of Demerara. The mood today was the age of consent in Guyana should be increased to 18 years old. Our judges are now tabulating their scores, and shortly they'll be ready for us. Each judge would be giving a comment, and the chief judge will give her comments and also announce the winners. Let me remind you who the judges for today's debate, this morning's debate was, or are. First, the chief judge is Ms. Nazima Ragubir. Ms. Ragubir is a print and broadcast journalist in Guyana, well-known print and broadcast journalist. In 2018, she became the first elected woman to head the 76-year-old Guyana Press Association. She serves on many boards, including the Media Institute of the Caribbean and the University of Guyana Broadcast Trust. She has been managing editor, she started as a reporter, and has also worked with Parliament in the past, helping to prepare material, collateral material, for us to disseminate, especially among our young people and children, talking about the institution of the National Assembly and the Parliament. Our next judge is Ms. Anisa Mohammed, who is the head of our learning channel, that channel that is helping all of our children with lessons, e-learning. Ms. Mohammed is a mother of two. She served in the private sector, leading a private sector communication organization for more than 10 years before coming into the state institution. She's extremely passionate about career development, technology, education, and women's rights. She's also a published author. Our third judge is Mr. Rian Miller, who is a former youth parliamentarian. In fact, Rian was the best debater for our Youth Parliament 2018. He is a graduate from the law program of the University of Guyana and is now in his second year at the Wooding Law School, shortly to obtain his LEC. Mr. Miller is also a member of the Caribbean Airlines Parkside Steel Orchestra, so he is an accomplished pianist. He's the founder and creative director of Pan Jazz Concerts. Those are our judges. Before us, we have our mace, and for the competition, we have a mace. In Parliament, once the mace is in place, the Parliament is in session. That is the authority of the Speaker. That mace, once that mace is in place, whatever is said there is official. And for our debating competition, we do have the mace. We've had some comments coming in, and we want to thank all those who are joining us via social media. Time is going against us. Two comments. Jen Victory giving some tips to debaters who are going to follow. Jen says it's important to get the attention of your audience and to keep that attention. This also helps to prevent nervousness. She recommends index cards as being very helpful when doing debates or presentations. These days, many persons use their phone too, Jen, and they have their PowerPoint on their phones. We also have a comment from Delroy Marks regarding the topic. And Delroy says the rape culture in Ghana needs more awareness and attention. This debate is playing a significant role in doing so. The Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition is one in a menu of measures that has been introduced to educate our people about the democratic institutions of our country, to educate our people about the duties of their members of parliament, and in particular, the different arms of the state. We are doing this via a number of initiatives. The National Youth Debating Competition is one of them. The National Speakers Youth Debating Competition is also going to be a feeder into our youth parliament, which will happen in August. Since 2015, we have been organizing the youth parliament, and that initiative would have seen in the past participants drawn from the University of Guyana, and also there's a segment where we draw participation from our schools. This Speakers National Youth Debating Competition is a feeder into the youth parliament, especially for the older youths and the young adults. That is why we're doing it, but more particularly, it is again part of the menu of measures that we have introduced to bring the role of the National Assembly and the Parliament to the people. Our judges continue to tabulate, and shortly we will get comments from the judges, and also we are going to get the winners of today's competition. Exciting prizes are on offer. At every participant will have a certificate of participation. Every debate will see a winner, and that winner will be recognized with a trophy. For the finals, every single participant in the finals, which will happen on July the 9th, every participant will receive a tablet, a Kindle Fire. There will also be a monetary reward for the winners and also the runner-up. The best debater in the finals will receive a laptop, and on your screen has the tablets, the laptop, and the many token of recognition of the outstanding performances by debaters during this Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. We are just taking a few minutes to allow the judges to tabulate their scores. The competition has been organized by the competent staff of the National Assembly, and we have a young, enthusiastic, vibrant, experienced, and educated staff that has put this competition together. Our chairman of the competition is Ms. Carletta Charles, and we have her supported by a number of our young staff in Parliament. This is the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, and you will see many young persons very involved in every aspect of this competition. This morning, we have witnessed the third, we have witnessed the third debate in the first round of the competition. 16 teams are participating in the competition. The winners from the first round, 8 teams will advance into the second round. And after the second round, you will have 4 teams, which will comprise 2 semifinals, and on July the 9th, we will have the finals. The finals will be held right here. We want to acknowledge the cooperation of the Minister and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, who and which, with very short notice, was able to assist us in identifying these 16 youth organizations to participate in the debate. The youth organizations are drawn from across the country. Only 2 regions were not able to participate, and we have had the challenges of floods and technology to overcome. Two regions did not participate. We also have, organizing this debate, the cooperation of the Learning Channel, and the CEO of the Learning Channel is a judge this morning, and we also have many other entities who are broadcasting this as a matter of community service. NCN, Globespan are among some of those who are partnering with us to bring this national speakers youth debating competition to our people. We have had to overcome the challenges of COVID, and we are still challenged with the issue of connectivity, because in these first rounds of the debate, we are taking the presentations via the internet, and so connectivity has been a little challenge for us. Madam Chief Judge, are we ready? So let me once again introduce the judges this morning. The Chief Judge is Ms. Nazima Ragubir, very experienced journalist, major practitioner at all levels, and today is at the peak of the media. Next person is Ms. Anisa Mohammed, who is the CEO of the Learning Channel, a person who's passionate about career, technology, women's rights, and education. And our third judge is Mr. Rion Miller, shortly to graduate as one of our young attorneys, but already famous for being the best debater in our Youth Parliament 2018. A graduate from the University of Ghana Law Program, currently a student at the Wooding Law School. Now I'll ask Mr. Miller to give some comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I must say that both teams had well-researched arguments. Most notably, the proposition, their good points were they did good legal research because, as you know, this is a legal topic. Their points were generally cohesive. However, they fell down at the end of most of their arguments because some of the speakers some of the speakers tended to contradict themselves, so you weren't sure whether they were proposing or opposing at some points, especially in the rebuttal and during the arguments of some of the speakers. For the opposition, their presentation was also well researched. They made good use of language argument styles. The problem I had was that it was obvious that some of them were reading. But Nevertheless, the arguments were good. Arguments were sound. A notable mention would be Mr. Chandra Jagdeo. He took a position and he maintained his point. Just general advice to the speakers. When you have a mood like this and you have such a short time, it would be better for the to introduce each person and introduce what they're going to be presented on, and the person stick to what they're going to present on. Because of the time frame, you should be doing 1 or 2 points and just using sub points to reinforce the main points that you're going to do. For most of the teams, the arguments had a lot of sub points, but they were all over the place, not going to the main point. The arguments were cohesive, but you had a lot of small arguments when you should have really had like 2 or 3 main arguments to add to your proposing or opposing stance. But nevertheless, it was a good presentation by both teams. To note, modulation. Sometimes your voice needs to go lower, sometimes your voice needs to go higher, sometimes when you're reinforcing a very important point, you know, you put that emphasis. For some speakers, it was one tone all the way through. Some were too loud, some were too soft. Yeah, those are all the comments I have. So good luck to you guys if you make it through to the youth parliament. You really did a good presentation today. I like the research that I was hearing, the statistics, the legal arguments, the reference to legislation. So great job, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Our next judge to make some comments is Ms. Anisa Mohammed. Anisa?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd first like to commend the team that put together today's debate. It was beautifully done. And to each participant, I know doing a debate comes with much preparation, and for that you did excellent. The reference to the legislation was particularly good, and it kind of upped your game and your argument and gave much context to what you were saying. I was particularly eager to see the prepositions argument, especially coming from youths, on today's topic, and you delivered beautifully there. I would like to commend each participant. You all did and contributed well to your team, and I hope that you are satisfied with your performance today. And I hope when you look at this in future, you can take some notes as to what you need to do better in the coming debates. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mohammed. Our Chief Judge today, Ms. Nazima Ragabir. Madam Chief Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my fellow judges for making those points. Congratulations to both teams. The work was exceptional today. It is clear that you have done your research, and it is clear that we see a type of commitment from you for this debate competition. I just wanted to make a few points. I think my colleagues made a lot of points on use of language and debate, which I endorse. While I noticed that there was some research into the topic, I think that was commendable. Your use of sources too was commendable. Just wanted to remind you that sometimes in these debates, you have to stick to 2 or 3, I know Rion said 2, but 3 strong arguments. You have to win the audience with your arguments. And in doing your debate, you have to be able to cite your sources properly and offer solutions. I have been a presenter for a very long time, and one of the encouraging things for me is that the mirror was my friend. So I used the mirror to rehearse a lot. And in this debating competition, you have to be able to engage. And I wanted to let you know that you have to debate, do not read. That is a huge no-no. So ensure that whatever is in front of you, whatever cards, use them and, try to stay away from reading. It is a debate. And also you want to engage your competitor and the audience. Overall, I felt the debate was really good though. And I'm hoping that you don't stop there. You continue to hone this, this type of engagement later in life. So I'm going to go ahead and make the announcements. It was a very stiff competition. I just wanted you to know that. So we have the runner-up is the Young Professionals Youth Group with 584 points in average. And the winning team is the opposing team, which is the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. So congratulations to you. Additionally, we all agreed Mr. Chandradat Jagdeo is a notable mention for his presentation and his debating skills, but we have to agree, and all of us agree, that it was Randy Diochan who is the best speaker in today's debate. So there you have it, Mr. Speaker and teams. Thank you.
Congratulations to Randy, to Chandradat, to all of the participants today, and special congratulations to the winning group today, the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. Thank you all very, very much. In fact, I think you may have swayed my opinion in a different direction that I was taking also. Thank you very, very much. See the winners in the next round, and have a good day, a great weekend. Stay safe, stay flood-free. Thank you very much. Thank you, judges. Thank you very much to our team that organized this debate today, and to all those who assisted via social media and the regular formal media for bringing this to many persons across our land and across the globe. Congratulations to all the winners again, and thanks to everyone. Have a great day.
Audio Jungle.